So what determines what species and how many individuals live in a habitat like a tide pool? There are physical characteristics, what we call abiotic factors, that we can measure in a tide pool. We can then experimentally explore how each of these factors may contribute to the health and survival of different organisms. In tide pools, two of the most important factors that we can measure are temperature and salinity. Temperature is measured with a thermometer in degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius.
Salinity, or the amount of dissolved salt in water, is measured with an instrument called a hydrometer. Salinity is measured in parts per thousand, or ppt. The more salt in your water, the higher the salinity. Ocean water is 35 ppt on average, which means that in every kilogram or 1,000 grams of seawater, 35 grams are salt. Contrast that with river water, which is usually 0.5 ppt or less. As tide pools heat up, water evaporates and leaves salt behind.
There are a couple of different instruments that we can use to measure salinity. One is a hydrometer, which measures the density of liquids. It can be filled with water, and the arm on the device measures salinity on a scale. The parts per thousand are on the outside ring of the device. A more precise way to measure salinity is with a refractometer. This measures how much light bends as it passes through the water. As the salinity of the water changes, so does the angle of refraction, or how much of the light bends. To use a refractometer, you place a couple of drops on the glass, and then lower the cover. Then you can look through the eyepiece to the back to get a measurement. Your salinity is wherever the colored half of the viewfinder stops. We use instruments like these to make measurements in the field, which we can then relate to what we know about the physiology of animals and to understand how changes in the environment might affect plants and animals living in different parts of the ecosystem.
Places like rocky intertidal zones are great for doing this because abiotic factors can differ over often very small distances. For example, how might you expect the temperature and salinity to differ from a tide pool in the low intertidal compared to one found in the high intertidal? Why would you expect to see these differences?